Hello everyone, welcome to Options with Doug, streaming live daily on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure: all Bookmap Limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure: trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Here's my contact information. The best way to get in touch with me is through Discord. My name on Discord is Doug P. Also in Bookmap Discord, there's an Options-Doug chat channel. That's a great place to post questions, comments, and content related to the topics of my presentation and the topics of the channel that I'll go through in just a moment. I'm also on X, formerly known as Twitter. My name there is @DougPless. The focus of my presentation today is options order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading, and the first is planning, and I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding the expected trading range and volatility for the day, as well as a directional bias. And the second step in my process is execution. I look at real-time order flow in Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow in Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis and for setups for entries and exits. And when I talk about setups today, I will be talking about setups in an underlying asset. Those setups can be taken any number of ways. For example, the S&P 500 setups can be taken with ES futures, SPY shares, SPY options, SPX options, or even ES options. Questions and comments are welcome. I will be watching both the Options-Doug chat channel and Discord, as well as the chat and YouTube for your questions and comments. Please feel free to post, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. Oops. Forgot to take this out. Give me just a moment. Clean this up. All right, there we go. All right, my agenda for today, Monday, November 27th. And by the way, everyone, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving, long weekend. Welcome back. All right, so this is Monday, November 27th. And my agenda for today, first of all, I want to go over news items, economic data, events, and earnings for today and for the rest of the week. Then I'll go through my positional analysis. Then I'll review some setups from earlier today. And then I'll take a look at the live market. And when I get to the live market, if anyone has any stocks they want me to take a look at, please let me know and I will be glad to do that. All right, so news items. Today there was some economic data coming out. New home sales at 10 a.m. that came in less than expected, less than previous number. Then tomorrow at 10 a.m. consumer confidence. On Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, GDP economic data report. And then on Thursday, probably the big report for the week, well, definitely the big report for the week, is the PCE data. That's at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. That's the information that the Fed looks at. And then on Friday, December 1st, 10 a.m., there is PMI data out at 10 a.m. again. And Jerome Powell is speaking at 11 a.m. And there are a number of Fed speakers every day this week. I guess capping off with Jerome Powell speaking on Friday. All right, so that's the week. A little bit of data every week. All right, let's get started with positional analysis now. Let's start with the S&P 500. This is the ES futures and Bookmap. Before I take a closer look at this chart, I want to take a look at a larger time frame. I'm going to go to the SPX. This is a 30-day 1-hour chart. And good afternoon, Don. Welcome. Glad you're here. All right, SPX, 30-day 1-hour chart. First of all, I want to point out the key turning points on this chart. And this is the October 30th. This is when the current rally began. On Friday before, traders were loading up on puts, concerned about weekend risk. And then on Monday, implied volatility started to drop. Price rose. Market makers that were short futures could buy back their short futures as those puts quickly lost value. That was a huge IV collapse, put Vanna rally, some consolidation. Then this is the Friday, November 10th, Magnificent 7 rally, for lack of a better term, and then fueled higher again by the benign CPI report that was on Tuesday the 14th. And note, during this time, at the beginning of this rally, market makers' position on the gamma curve was quite negative. And that negative gamma has gradually decreasing throughout this rally. And now market makers' position on the gamma curve is quite positive. I'll talk more about that in a few minutes. So multiple areas of consolidation, SPX right now, and another area of consolidation. All right, let me point out the levels on this chart. First of all, the dashed purple lines are showing the lower and upper weekly expected move. Pretty narrow range this week. That's based on the options market. That is updated once a week. Then the dashed blue lines are showing the lower and upper daily expected move. Quite narrow, plus or minus around 15 points. SPX trading right within that range. That's updated once a day, again, based on the options market. All right, there are also some Spotgamma levels on this chart that I want to point out. These are proprietary Spotgamma levels available to Spotgamma subscribers for a variety of platforms. This is Thinkorswim. Excuse me. I'm going to point out the key daily levels. First of all, here's the put wall at 4,400. That's a strike with the largest net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. The next level up is 44.95. That is the volatility trigger. That is Spotgamma's proprietary volatility flip level. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, they have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure, and that tends to enhance or increase volatility when market makers are trading in the direction of price, both up and down. And then just above that is the 4,500 absolute gamma strike. That's a strike with the largest absolute negative and positive gamma. That's where most of the gamma-weighted open interest is concentrated. And then above that is the call wall at 4,600. That's a strike with the largest net positive gamma that can be expected to act as resistance. And that is most likely the, as it looks right now, most likely the ceiling for price into the end of the year. Unless there's some unknown catalyst to move the S&P 500 up or down. PCE data, Jerome Powell. There is one more FOMC meeting before the end of the year. All right, those are the key daily levels. There were some shifts in levels. So compared with Friday, the volatility trigger shifted higher for SPX, and actually back to the level that it was at last Wednesday. All right, let's take a look at a shorter time frame, just so we can see the levels in play for today. And again, a very narrow range. The S&P 500. This is the start of the day right here. The cash open Monday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. The only spot gamma level in play is the 4550 level. There's a large gamma 2. Gamma levels are ranked from 1 to 5, 1 being the most important. So it looks like right now SPX may be breaking the uptrend that it is began just after 11 a.m. But overall, the key takeaway here is a very narrow trading range for today, typical of a positive gamma environment and consolidation after a large run-up. All right, this is the S&P 500 futures in Bookmap again. Excuse me. So on this chart, I have my own cloud notes, so I can show SPX levels. There's the 4550 level that I pointed out on the 1 day, 1 minute chart. And note there is a difference in price between ES and SPX. Let me check on that. So today it is somewhere between 9 and 10, and I'm using 10. So I'm showing SPX 4550 at ES 4560. So ES minus SPX is right around 9 to 10 points. I'm using 10 here. I also have SPY levels on this chart. Here's the SPY put wall volatility trigger. And then the SPY 455 level. That's a large gamma 2 level. So for SPY, there were a couple of shifts higher in levels. The put wall shifted higher, up to 454, shown below. Also the volatility trigger, that shifted higher on Friday and remains at the same level, 454 today. The call wall shifted higher on Friday and shifted higher again to 460, and that is bullish. And for also for SPY, on Friday the absolute gamma strike shifted higher and remains at 455 today. So I actually mislabeled that. That should be the absolute gamma strike at 450. So bullish shifts higher in especially for SPY on Friday and today. Today again the put wall and call wall both shifted higher. So the potential floor and the potential ceiling for price have moved higher for SPY. All right, so overall for the S&P 500, bullish shifts higher, levels in play, again very narrow range, 454 put wall on the downside, and around this 455 absolute gamma strike. Note most of the volume for the session, shown in the session volume profile column, concentrated between those two levels. All right, we'll talk about setups in a few minutes. Let's take a look at Nasdaq now. little bit more movement here in Nasdaq. And I'm going to take a look first of all at a QQQ chart to isolate the QQQ levels in play for today. So this is a one-day chart for QQQ. Zoom in on this just a little bit. Here's the call wall at 390. That is also the absolute gamma strike, so a very important level for QQQ. So right now QQQ is trading above its call wall. Down below is 389. That's a large gamma 2 level. Both levels in play for today. Support, resistance. Now support. Note this combo 2 level just below the call wall, and we'll see that same level on the NDX chart. So here's NDX. There's that combo level. The combo levels combine for the Nasdaq, combine NDX and QQQ, gamma weighted open interest into one level, here shown in terms of NDX price, on the previous chart shown in terms of QQQ price. And just above that is the 16,000 level, just right around the 390 level. So that's NDX. Let me zoom in just a little bit. Oops. Sorry, having trouble with my pen tool. Okay. So this is the cash open for today. All right, let's go back to Bookmap now. Take a look at NQ. So just like the ES futures, I have my own cloud notes, so I can show NDX levels as well as QQQ levels, also round number levels for NQ. So here is that cluster of levels, that combo level, then the QQQ 390 just above that, and then the 16,000 level. All right, so just a grind higher today for Nasdaq as well as the S&P 500. And again, we'll take a look at setups in a few minutes. All right, let's take a look at gamma notional now to see how market makers were positioned on the gamma curve at the beginning of the day. What I'm looking at is gamma notional for the S&P 500, Nasdaq, and Russell 2000. Note all these numbers are positive. This means that market makers' position on the gamma curve for S&P 500, Nasdaq, and the Russell 2000 is positive. In a positive gamma environment, for an index, this means that traders are short calls, market makers are long calls, and they have to trade against price to hedge their delta exposure, and that tends to subdue or decrease volatility. So in a positive gamma environment, I'm typically looking for more of a range day, smaller moves than a very large negative gamma day, where I would be looking for bigger moves and more trend trading. All right, so again, all these numbers are positive, and compared with Friday. All right, so on gamma notional on Friday, all the numbers increased. Gamma notional for SPX unchanged. For SPY, slightly less positive, but still positive. then mix for the Nasdaq, up for NDX, lower for QQQ, and then shifts higher and gamma notional for the Russell 2000. So again, the key takeaway here is they're all positive. So in this market maker's position on the gamma curve at the beginning of the day was positive for all these indices. All right, let's take a look at the Vanna model now to get a graphical representation of what this means. This is the Vanna model for SPX. On the vertical axis, this is market makers' delta notional, their delta exposure. On the horizontal axis, this is spot price of SPX. There are two curves on this chart. The light gray curve shows how market makers' delta notional may change with changes in price only. And then the purple curve adds implied volatility to the equation. That shows how market makers' delta notional may change with changes in price and implied volatility. And that excuse me, that change in implied volatility, change in delta notional with the change in implied volatility is the Vanna effect. Vanna is a second order Greek. And that's the curve that we do want to take a look at. All right, so let's check on price now. So for SPX, price is right around 45.56. Right here. That's 45.56. Right at the bottom of the curve. So what this means, if price continues to increase, market makers will need to sell futures to hedge their delta exposure. This is typical of a positive gamma environment where market makers have to trade against price. This tends to slow down price, subdue or decrease volatility. On the other hand, if price starts to drop, down towards 4,500, market makers will need to sell futures to hedge their delta exposure, and that will tend to increase or enhance volatility. But right now, SPX is trading right around the bottom of the curve. All right, let's check on SPY. Pretty similar curve. SPY trading right around 455, right around the absolute gamma strike. Also near the bottom of the curve. And then for QQQ, right around the 390 call wall, right at the bottom of the curve. All right, so that's the Vanna model for the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq. All right, let's take a look at some setups now. All right, the first thing that I want to look at is options trades. I want to see what options traders are doing today. This chart is showing the hero signal, hedging impact real-time options. This comes from Spotgamma. It is available to Spotgamma subscribers. So this chart is showing price for SPX with the white line and the hero signal with the purple line. Hero is hedging impact real-time options. What the hero signal is showing is options trades and market maker hedging activity for a combined signal for SPX, SPY, XSP, and ES futures, all combined into one signal. So when traders trade options in all of these instruments, market makers hedge those trades with futures, typically ES futures, and that activity is shown here, and it is a key driver of price action in the S&P 500 and many stocks that we'll see. All right, let's take a closer look at this chart. Going to zoom in. And I'm looking at a setup from this morning. And just right around between 9:50 and 10 a.m., traders started taking positive delta positions and price responded higher. Pretty choppy, but overall in an uptrend. All right, let's take a closer look and see exactly what traders were doing. So I'm going to separate out puts and calls. This purple line is combining put and call trades into one signal. I can separate out puts and calls, and this adds some clarity to the picture here. So just after 9:50, traders started buying calls. Put line pretty flat, so the call line, sorry about that, nothing I did. I guess Spotgamma is still trying to work this out. All right, so the orange line is showing calls. When the orange line is rising, this means that traders are buying calls, market makers sell the calls, and they have to buy futures to hedge their delta exposure. So separating out puts and calls provides more clarity to this setup. Traders started buying calls right around 9:50. Not doing much with puts. And price responded higher. All right, let's go take a look at Bookmap. And we'll identify the signals in Bookmap for that move higher. Let's zoom in. So we know that traders were buying calls. ES makes a double bottom just above the 454 put wall. Sometimes setups are more clear than others, but this one, there were definitely some clues here in Bookmap. First of all, the double bottom. The volume dots are showing market buy minus sell. Magenta dots indicate there are more sellers than buyers. Green volume dots indicate more buyers than sellers. So you can see at the bottom here, this double bottom, there were aggressive sellers down to that level. The heat map is showing a history of the limit orders in the order book. There were some buyers down at this level, just around between 455, 456. Aggressive buyers start to come in as traders were buying calls. Market makers were selling the calls and buying futures to hedge their delta exposure. As price starts moving higher, buy stop orders help to fuel the move higher. That's shown by the rising yellow line. Also these on-chart indicators. These are not large numbers. Then ES makes a higher low. Again, the shift in order flow. Magenta volume dots on the way down. Sell stop orders, sell stop run down. Then aggressive buyers start to come in. All right, so not a lot of range in the S&P 500 today, but the the signal was pretty clear, definitely in hero with call buyers coming in. All right, let's take a look at Nasdaq. Let's go take a look first of all at hero. So in hero, I'm going to look at a combined signal for NDX and QQQ. Let's zoom in on this. Going to focus on this morning setup. And the call buyers came in a little bit earlier on the Nasdaq. And actually, so traders were buying calls. They started selling puts too. And that helped to launch Nasdaq higher just around 935, 936. Sorry about that. All right, let's go take a look at Bookmap. Order flow here in Bookmap is pretty clear. Aggressive sellers on the way down, magenta volume dots. Aggressive buyers start to come in. A little bit of liquidity here in the order book. And then price starts to make higher lows, multiple tests of VWAP. That's this line right here, the light blue line. Multiple tests of VWAP, good entry points for long. And it looks like there were some large traders coming in with iceberg orders as well. That's shown by the rising light blue line. So traders were buying calls in QQQ and NDX. Traders were market makers were selling the calls. They had to buy NQ futures to hedge their delta exposure. There were also aggressive buyers come in with multiple entry points at VWAP for long this morning. All right, let's take a look at one other thing in hero. There's a new signal here in hero. This is a combined signal for the stocks known as the Magnificent Seven. These stocks are key drivers of the S&P 500 and Nasdaq. They make up a large portion of both the S&P 500 and especially the Nasdaq 100. Zoom in on this. So there's that $935 reversal higher. Separate out puts and calls. $935. Traders start aggressively buying calls, shown by the rising orange line. And then just a few minutes later, a couple of minutes later, they start selling puts. So for stock, when traders buy calls, market makers sell the calls, and they have to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. All right, so that's the Nasdaq. All right, typically in a positive gamma environment, there are often better trades, better plays in single stocks than the S&P 500 and Nasdaq. So let's take a look at a couple of stocks today. First of all, Amazon. Amazon up today on reports of good Black Friday sales. Let's zoom in on this. Let's see what traders are doing. So it took a little while this morning, but traders started buying calls. Shown by the rising orange line. Let's go back to the total signal. Sorry about that. Kind of a choppy day here. Quick move higher, sharp move lower, move higher. Hero signal overall levels off, and price levels off as well. Let's go take a look at, excuse me, go to Bookmap, take a look at Amazon. So choppy day in Amazon, but overall moving higher. Also mostly green volume dots showing aggressive buyers. We can take a look at CVD, cumulative volume delta. In the subchart, it's been rising all day. So overall, traders taking positive delta positions, as well as aggressive buyers buying Amazon shares. Let's take a look at Meta. And in Meta, bullish setup earlier today. Let's go take a look at Hero. Go to Meta. So earlier today, let's just zoom in on this. Call buyers were driving price higher. Rising orange line. Traders are buying calls with the wrong tool. Market makers were selling the calls, and they had to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure up until about 12:30, 1 o'clock. Traders weren't doing much with puts, and as the call buyers took their foot off the gas, price started to consolidate. We'll zoom out. Now traders have started selling calls, also buying puts more aggressively, and price is moving lower. Note the flow alert that came in just before this quick drop lower. Let's go back to Bookmap. This might have been, let's just take a look at another stock. Yeah, I don't see that sharp drop in Microsoft. This might have been news specific to Meta. I don't know. I'll check later. Unless somebody knows. Does anybody know anything about news on Meta? All right, there's Meta. Bullish morning. Looks like, again, potentially some negative news. No, I don't see anything. All right, the next, NVIDIA. All right, so the buyers are back for NVIDIA. Green volume dots showing a lot of aggressive buyers today. Let's take a look and see what options traders are doing. All right, so in NVIDIA, the call buyers are back. Note the timely flow alert here. So traders are, sorry about that, this really makes it difficult to present. All right, so traders are buying calls and selling puts. That's shown by the rising orange line, positive notion of value, and also by the rising blue line and the positive notion of value. So they're buying calls and selling puts in NVIDIA. That's very bullish when both lines are moving in the same direction. Spotgamma has indicated that is a very powerful directional signal. Let's go back to Bookmap. Very bullish day in NVIDIA. Deep pullback around 11:30 to the 479 level. Go back to Hero. And I don't see any Spotgamma levels in play for today. Go back to Bookmap. Primary target for the day, pretty clear in here in Bookmap, is the high liquidity at 485. Note how traders come in with their limit sell orders right at the cash open, typically leave those orders in the order book until they're filled, and that was the primary target for today. Also some liquidity at 482 and 483, at 484. But then note how the liquidity is darker and brighter, deeper orange-red at 485, indicating high liquidity at that level, acting as a magnet for price. All right, does anyone have any stocks they want me to take a look at? All right, if not, let's circle back to, first of all, the S&P 500. Still chopping in a narrow range. Check Nasdaq. Also in a pretty narrow range, going back to the 390, 16,000 level. All right, let's take a look at Nikki. Hello, welcome. Wants to look at VXX. I don't have that in Bookmap, but let's check it in Spotgamma. In Hero. All right, so pretty choppy here in VXX. Not a lot of notional value. We can separate out puts and calls. So traders are buying calls and buying puts. Put buyers more aggressive. That's shown by the falling blue line, negative notional value there. All right, Nikki wants to look at Palantir. We'll take a look at that. And then VHU, we'll get to Tesla next. All right, Palantir. Slightly positive notional value. Traders are buying calls, also buying puts. Net 1.75 million positive notional value. Most of that coming in just a few minutes after the cash open. And that was helped to fuel a move from around 1870 to 1960, 1940. All right, VHU, let's take a look at Tesla now. Tesla is one of the stocks that I watch and trade on a regular basis. Bullish day here in Tesla. Let's zoom in on this. Note the support at the 232.50 hedge wall. Let's see what traders have been doing today in Tesla. So net, they are buying calls and selling puts, both positive notional value, both positive delta. Let's go take a look at Bookmap. So for today, Tesla trading up. Excuse me. Remember 232.50 was the hedge wall. Price reversed higher at that level. And a lot of aggressive sellers coming in right around 10:30. Shown by the shift from green volume dots to magenta volume dots. So options traders are really helping to fuel the move higher in Tesla. Let's go back to Hero. And right around 115, options traders taking their foot off the gas. And now Tesla is consolidating, starting to move lower, it looks like. All right, Penny Pincher wants to take a look at PayPal. Let's do that. So there's PayPal. Note 57 is the call wall, and price did not quite make it up to that level. So found resistance just below that level. Notional value is positive today. So traders are buying calls, selling puts. A couple of flow alerts. Hear this one just a couple of minutes after the cash open. Another one right after 10:30. All right, so there you go, penny pincher. There's PayPal. The stocks that I generally follow here in my watch list are large cap tech, Magnificent Seven, and a few other stocks. Let's just scan through those, see if we see anything interesting. Not much in Apple. AMD has been pretty strong after the NVIDIA earnings report last week. There was some weakness in NVIDIA, and it looks like traders may have been rotating out of NVIDIA into AMD. So far today, AMD is rising slightly. Hero showing positive delta, positive notional value. Amazon we've already looked at. Google, not much going on. A little bit of a move lower. Negative notional value. Traders taking negative delta positions. Microsoft continues higher. Finding a resistance at the 380 call wall key gamma strike. Let's go take a look at Bookmap. We'll take a look at Microsoft. So there's the 380 call wall key gamma strike. Note all the liquidity at that level. And there were some orders in the order book before the cash open. More came in, quite a bit more came in at the cash open. Stayed in the order book until they were filled. And that was the clear price target. Nice uptrend in Amazon, Microsoft this morning. Deeper pullbacks just below VWAP. This was a really good entry here, right around 11:15, 11:30, for the final move higher up into that liquidity at the call wall. Let's go back to Hero. Let's zoom in a little bit. Sometimes these straight lines here, large block orders, institutional order, tend to kind of subdue the chart, flatten out the previous. So not a lot of clarity here in Hero for Microsoft. Take a look at Netflix. Another bullish day in Netflix, nothing new. A couple of very timely flow alerts. Let's see what traders are doing. So earlier today, traders were buying calls, that's shown by the rising orange line, also selling puts, shown by the rising blue line, Sorry about that. We'll zoom out and we'll just keep the total signal here. Very typical pattern. Aggressive options traders in the morning. Here they shut it off pretty quickly. Try that one more time. Options traders take their foot off the gas pretty early, 10:15, and price consolidates. Let's go to Bookmap. Take a look at Netflix. There's that morning move fires. Traders were aggressively buying calls and selling puts. All right, so some good trading opportunities in stocks this morning, especially Meta, Microsoft, Netflix, Nvidia, Tesla. Let's do check on the S&P 500. Still grinding around the 455. Absolute gamma strike. Check on Nasdaq. And Hu and Penny Pincher, you're welcome. All right, Nasdaq also stuck around that cluster of levels. So the question now, that level that acted as resistance, will that become support? And Nikki, you're welcome. And for those of you who posted stocks, thank you for participating. There's not a lot to look at here in these indices, so it helps to, and I'm glad I can show you these stocks. Let's see what options traders are doing. Let's go back. The S&P 500. So for the afternoon, the hero signal pretty flat. Option traders not really committing one way or another. Nasdaq a little bit more bearish. Let's check the Magnificent Seven. A little bit more clear here. Starting to take negative delta positions. All right, Nikki wants to take a look at the sentiment for next month. So I'll take a look at what I think you're asking. First of all, Vanna wants to take a look at coin and Mara, Bitcoin proxies. So let's start with coin. All right, there's interesting hero chart. Note that 120 is the call wall key gamma strike. And traders were taking positive delta positions, and price finds resistance at 120 as traders take their foot off the gas. There's coin. Take a look at Mara. and a little bit more choppy here in Mira. Note that 12 is the call wall key gamma strike. And you're welcome. All right, Nikki, let's take a look at sentiment. Well, we may not be able to get it on that chart. We'll go over here. All right, this is what I believe you may be asking about. What this is the delta notional at different expirations. This is for a combined S&P 500, Nasdaq, and Russell 2000. This is showing delta notional at expiration starting from today all the way out to the middle of next year. And there's one obvious expiration on this chart. This is the December expiration. What the orange bar is showing call delta notional. Blue bar is showing put delta notional. First of all, December is a very large expiration. It may be the largest of the year. And this is a very heavily call-dominated options expiration coming up in December. I'll talk about that more as that expiration approaches. But right now, looking like the December expiration is very, very call-dominated. Again, I'll talk more about this. All right, Nikki, I don't understand your question. Big red bar. I'll talk more about this later. My time is up for today. So the orange bar, all it means for right now is that it is call dominated. And there's some typical behavior around a call dominated expiration that I'll talk about in the upcoming days. All right, so my time is up. I want to thank everyone for watching. Thank you very much for your questions and comments. I always appreciate that. Everyone have a great evening, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks again. Bye.